What's going on, guys? It's me, the Face, and Samir.
Yeah, movie review guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you looked at the title of the video. So, clearly, we're doing the Barbenheimer review.
This is probably the biggest cinematic experience since, I'd say, Endgame, honestly, for, like, box office in general.
I would say that's cap, but I do believe that. Like, there hasn't been this much hype for anything coming out in a while like that. So I buy it, and it's frankly, like, I think it's safe to say that cinema is healing.
It is healing, like, for one, just the memes, the costumes, but even if you go to the theater right now, I know there's, like, showtimes for just Wednesday nights filled to the brim with not just Barbie or Oppenheimer, just both shows. It's like, wow, we're actually going to be watching movies that aren't superhero movies, and we're talking about movies that are movies. Like,
Yeah.
What a concept.
Yeah, it's not us neither. Well, I guess Barbie is an IP, but
Yeah.
it's not like over the top. But then again, the success of this IP is gonna spawn the next MCU, the Mattel Cinematic Universe. Much like the internet tells you, we're gonna talk about Barbie first because you're going to leave this video haunted, just like if you saw Oppenheimer second. We're not going to talk about Oppenheimer first. But if you want to hear about either or the other, we got timestamps below. Feel free to click to the chapters. Let's get to it. So, Samir, Barbie, what did you think?
So Barbie, it was a movie. It was, I wouldn't say it's a movie. It was more of an experience. I mean,
It was a movie.
As a film, I think, I can't really give it too much credit, but it definitely, it's not an amateur-made film. It's directed by Greta Gerwig, Little Women, Lady Bird, she speaks for herself. Written by Noah Baumbach, Marriage Story speaks for itself as well. But it's definitely a very odd film, but it somehow encapsulates big thematics of what it means to be a woman, what it means to live in like the superficial society, while also making fun of gender norms and gender stereotypes. I don't know if this is really a spoiler, but the best way I can describe this movie is Ryan Gosling discovers Hustlers University and follows the Andrew Tate method.
What?
Oh. Well,
what?
So, spoiler alert, I guess.
Okay, he did say spoiler alert, so we'll let that one fly.
Yeah. So, spoiler alert in the movie, Ryan Gosling, Ken kind of discovers
that he's Kenough.
That's the arc, but he discovers basically masculinity, patriarchy, and he just becomes Sigma male, which is quite ironic how, if you're familiar with Instagram, I'm pretty sure this was like very common last year, everyone would flock to Ryan Gosling from Drive, Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, even Taxi Driver. There was just this craze of Sigma males, and I think it's funny that Greta Gerwig kind of uses Ryan Gosling to make fun of the Sigma male trope in the movie. Some people may think it's quote-unquote woke. No, it's freaking hilarious. It's a
It's satire.
Yeah, it's satire, and at the end of the day, it's making fun of a stereotype. Like, and if you want to use that argument, in the film, they also make fun of because Margot Robbie's Barbie. She has a whole arc where she kind of is like the superficial Barbie, but she learns to become more human and realize maybe these standards are too high for just normal. For like the normal human to attain. So it's clearly knowing what these stereotypes are and realizing that stereotypes are called stereotypes for a reason. No one should really live up to these stereotypes. I don't know, what did you think about just the overall film experience of Barbie?
So, like, as a movie, I thought, like, I enjoyed it. I didn't walk away and was like, that sucked. Because like, although a movie has to be like pretty bad for me to walk away and be like, I either really disliked this or that sucked. So I enjoyed it, and I thought it was funny, and the writing was like excellent because obviously what's something you're gonna hear a lot is just the criticism of the wokeness. Yeah, it's like, dude, no, it's actually really funny when people point out stuff that's like satire or it's like that they're hitting you over the head with the message. Like 99% of the time, I'll give them 90% of the time, it's just people saying that because they don't agree with what's being said. Yeah. But if you don't agree with, like, sorry to say this, but if you don't agree with what's being said in Barbie, I think you're the problem. Yeah. Like, genuinely. Because, like, Barbie has good messages. It's not about the matriarchy taking over the patriarchy. It's about both of them being horrible. Well, how bad is the matriarchy, really? It's about the patriarchy not being great, but it's also about equality, equity, one of those things, but being...
It is about, like, equal rights in a sense.
Also? Anyway.
Yeah. No, so the whole thing about like Barbie was it wasn't pushing an agenda. It addressed an agenda, but it wasn't pushing it. Like people were trying to say it's being woke, trying to push these norms, but no, it's just like establishing, because it's a Barbie movie. What do you expect? What's going to happen? Like Barbie was made for women. It was made in a time historically because to kind of inspire women. So what's the point of the movie? To inspire women. I mean, that's why I feel like it's kind of weird for me to kind of critique Barbie, because I never grew up with Barbie.
Me neither, obviously.
Yeah, we kind of just like watched the movie as like a meme, and then I kind of thought, wait, hold up, this kind of has Oscar potential apparently. Greta Gerwig?
Yeah,
Noah Baumbach? What?
But then also, it's like, and there's something that I feel like a lot of people aren't going to like. They're going to hear this and then take it some type of way, but it's the idea that not every movie's for you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a movie can be tailored to someone else.
Yeah.
You know, there's movies with general mass appeal, and sure, but guess what? That's kind of what's wrong with cinema today.
Oh, yeah.
All these movies with mass appeal, but nobody's saying anything to anybody. And here comes Barbie saying things to people,
and that's
then
what
people have an issue with it.
And that's what's crazy about Barbie is I wasn't really expecting by all means, Barbie didn't need to be an art house film that told this deeper meaning. It could have just been just like a shenanigan-filled film, but it actually offered something more, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. Like it's like pretty much 90% fun and then 10% the agenda that was addressed.
To the notes that I wrote on a blank piece of paper. I mean, the paper's not blank. There's words on it, but I'm not going to show you that so you can actually read it. Right. Right. Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that went further than it was supposed to. So, if I'm talking criticisms of Barbie, one, this is just me coming from someone that obviously you watching this channel, you know I'm a filmmaker. To me personally, I felt like the cinematography was boring. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
The cinematographer's name, who's right here, like, it's not that it was bad.
Yeah.
It was never bad. I just wasn't necessarily wowed by it. But I don't think Barbie was the movie to be like wowed by cinematography. But we talked about right before recording that the production design of the film was amazing. Like, obviously, especially because you know how they said that they ran out of pink paint, like that certain like they used so much of this pink paint that they like ran out, and then they like caused a shortage in the world, which was interesting. But the production design is amazing, but the cinematography is kind of just like boring to showcase it.
Fun fact as a filmmaker, by the way, production design also includes what's in the frame as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and they did a really good job with just like including all these little. There's like a lot of comedy within each frame too, which I enjoy about the production design.
We want to talk about good production design. Look up John Cena's wig for this movie. Like that was great. And then next to Dua Lipa, and it's like she looked like a Barbie with the way they put that wig on her. But John Cena's wig was so like well blended. It just looked like it could be his hair.
Amazing.
It was great, especially in like those behind the scenes photos. This is just me. Now, I don't subscribe to this notion that every movie's gonna be 90 minutes long.
Oh, yeah.
It's not me, but I did not think this movie had to be like 2 hours plus. Like, no, absolutely not. I think granted, I've seen it once. I haven't like had the foresight and like the time to be able to like, this felt unnecessary. So I'm not sure where like they could save time or cut stuff out. I think
a main criticism I had with the movie was for clarity, this movie takes place in two worlds: the Barbie world and the real world. And I think they spent I feel like the real world was really boring, which I mean I guess that was the point, was to show how superficial and happy the Barbie world was compared to the real world. But a lot of the real world just had not enough substance for me to care, and it kind of dragged from the movie. Besides the Will Ferrell stuff with Mattel, that was really funny.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Like it's like funny, but it wasn't like that's really funny. Like especially when they got to like that chase sequence in the Mattel headquarters, I was like, what are we doing here?
Oh, I actually thought the chase sequence was pretty like hilarious, and I'm not a fan of Will Ferrell personally, so I was like, oh wow, he's funny.
No, I don't know. It was funny, but at the same time, it was like a forced funny. It felt like watching Family Guy.
No, oh, hey Lois, remember the time? Yeah, like that.
A little bit like that, but
yeah.
Also, I think that obviously, how have we gone this far without talking about Ryan Gosling being the scene stealer, the show stealer. Because, like, yes, Margot Robbie did a great job, but Ken.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Gosling is Ken. Fantastic.
Margot Robbie, definitely, like, I can't see anyone else cast as her. She did amazing at... Did you hear that Amy Schumer was apparently supposed to play Barbie? Like,
See, that's the dark timeline.
Yeah,
Well, the other dark timeline.
The branch time, Earth 838 Barbie.
Yeah.
But, no, so, yeah, Margot Robbie deserves her flowers. She owned this role. But Ryan Gosling, he literally steals every scene he's in. He's just hilarious.
I guess you could say that he was sublime!
No, he was more than Knuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing with, like, Ryan Gosling, which is so crazy, because he has an insane amount, his filmography is crazy when you think about it. La La Land, Drive, Blade Runner, but for some reason, honestly, I feel like this was...
Anne-Marie said The Notebook for Ryan Gosling.
I honestly think this might have been, like, one of his most ambitious roles he's taken on. What I mean, like, because, like, I feel like anyone could have really played Sebastian in La La Land. Notebook, anyone could have played that.
I've never seen La La Land.
But I feel like he kind of just, like, got into the role of Ken and just...
He ate that shit up.
He ate it and left no crumbs. And honestly, like, there's talk about him winning for him,
Best
like,
supporting
best supporting actor.
I buy it.
I buy it.
Someone else we're gonna talk about later.
Oh yeah,
it's stiff competition.
It is stiff competition. I thought the ensemble in general was really fun too. I think Alexandra Shipp had some really fun moments. Obviously Margot Robbie.
Yeah. Honestly, like, casting wise,
Michael Cera as well. Michael Cera was pretty fun. It's always a blessing seeing Michael Cera. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, and it's really funny. Like, obviously, you probably have seen Scott. So you've probably seen Scott Pilgrim, and then when Alan had the little fight sequence.
Yeah.
Very Scott Pilgrim.
It was.
Like, I looked at that and I was like, they know what they're doing here.
It was also like, wow, like Michael Cera in a strong role. What? It's like, well, not a strong, but like having like a role of authority in like that scene. I was like, what?
A little bit, yeah. As far as the cast goes, like, everybody was well cast. There was nobody who I looked at and I was like, this is bad.
I think Simu
She has a problem with Simu Liu, but a lot of people have a problem with Simu Liu, but I didn't look at their 4chan posts or whatever.
In this film, like, if you can separate art from the artist, I think he was great. He did his role.
That's dangerous precedent.
Oh, what?
Separating the art from the artist.
Yeah. Okay, we're looking at Ken. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
The cameos are fun, like, like the music with Lizzo at the start.
Oh yeah.
I liked it. Anne-Marie over there didn't.
The homage to Space Odyssey was really fun at the beginning too. That was.
Oh, it's kind of crazy. We didn't really we've been talking about stuff. We haven't talked about the plot seriously, so
yeah.
We're not going to though.
Because we kind of already.
And you need to see Barbie.
Oh yeah, you do. And what? So one thing that Yishai kind of mentioned about just films in general, the thing with Barbie is not everything needs to be like a serious, thematical driven movie. Some movies could just be movies that are adapting an IP or just adapting a story, and that's fine. I think that's something that a lot of people kind of went into Barbie for, which I appreciate, and that's why I think everyone should watch Barbie, whether you were a fan of Barbie growing up or whether you just want an excuse to go to the theater. I think it's an amazing excuse to go to the theater in general, especially if you're doing the Barbenheimer experience.
Absolutely. To kind of close out talking about Barbie, I just want to say, looking at the first portion of the movie where we're in Barbie Land before we go to the real world, and even when you just think about the plot of this movie, it feels like we went back to the early 2000s where people were just making movies about stuff.
Oh,
you know? And not just dilute the message of the film, but just the absurd nature of the plot. Like, if you really think about it, because it's just so funny to me. Like, we have Barbie that goes to the real world, and then people from the real world go to Barbie Land, and there's no explanation.
It's parroting itself. It's parroting Hollywood, while also, when you think about because I don't know if you're aware, Mattel is trying to upstart this universe.
I talked about it earlier.
Oh yeah, you did.
At this time.
You did. Yeah. So they're trying to upstart this, and in the movie they kind of mention, because they kind of blur the lines of reality by having Mattel play an actual role in this film. So they talk about marketability and everything. So it's joking about how Hollywood, they see this IP, oh, we got to make a movie out of it. When in reality, Mattel's doing the exact same thing behind the scenes. It's like they're self-aware.
Oh,
in
right.
Sense.
America Ferrera. Very good. That's
all you're going to say?
if we're gonna be basic and assign a numeric value to it, what would you say? What would you give Barbie on a 1 out of 10?
As an experience?
Or 0.
As an experience, 10 out of 10. But if I'm looking at it solely as a film that I'm critiquing, that I'm logging into Letterboxd or what have you may be, I think it's about 7.5, maybe even an 8. I gotta give it a rewatch because I feel like it does have rewatchability as well. Mm-hmm. And honestly, what's crazy to me right now is the fact that we're in 2023 and a Barbie movie has legit Oscar buzz around it in general, not even just for Ryan Gosling. There's talks about just like best adapted screenplay. There's probably going to be talks about best picture in general. I give it best production design. I give it a nom for that for sure.
Absolutely. For me, I'd give it a 7, just a solid 7, mainly because like I had fun with it, but it's not a movie that I think I would like watch again.
Yeah.
Like maybe one more time, and then other than that, like I don't have any glaring problems with it, you know?
Now that you mention that, I feel like that's a movie I can only watch in the theater, because I don't know if your theater reacted to the movie, my theater reacted to the movie.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Our theater was like eating it up.
And I think that's kind of a problem with certain movies. Some movies, like No Way Home, for example, like they kind of directed and edited it to where you have to watch it in the theater.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. Okay, about No Way Home, yes, but about Barbie, no. I feel like the way the jokes are set up, like it's not like we cut for laughing time.
Yeah.
So that's the Barbie review.
Yep.
And now, welcome to the portion of the video where we talk about Oppenheimer. So, Oppenheimer, the Heimer of Barbenheimer.
Oh my god.
What a movie.
What a fucking movie.
Christopher Nolan's 12th film. And, well, I think it's safe to say Christopher Nolan doesn't miss.
Oh yeah, I think what's crazy about Christopher Nolan, I talked to some of my friends about this. I feel like there are a couple of directors like Nolan, David Fincher, and Tarantino. You can ask everyone what's their favorite Tarantino or Fincher film or Nolan film. It's completely subjective. Like some people will say Inception, some people will say Oppenheimer as a reason. Some people will say The Dark Knight. I think with Tarantino it's similar. Some people say Kill Bill, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Some people say Django Unchained. That's what's crazy about these directors is they don't miss. And Nolan, honestly, after I walked out of Oppenheimer, I was thinking.
I was devastated.
But I was like, wow, maybe Nolan is the GOAT. What? Like,
he is definitely in the GOAT contention.
Yes, that's what
there's no arguing that. Like,
oh yeah.
For Oppenheimer, well, it came out this year, obviously. Well, this year, the year of our Lord, 2023. So you could be watching us in the future. So it was an amazing experience. Like, now, he saw it standard.
I did see it standard.
And me and Anne-Marie, our director over here, traveled to Dallas so we could see this in IMAX 1570, which is the full projected on film 1.43 to 1 aspect ratio version of the film on a giant massive screen. And let me tell you, if you can, this is a movie, if you've never seen a movie in IMAX before, somehow, you need, even if you can only see regular IMAX, you need to see this movie in IMAX. And then, if possible, see the movie in standard. Now, that's crazy to see the same 3-hour movie twice, but if you want to experience that difference and understand the IMAX magic, you need to see this movie in IMAX. And if you're lucky enough to somehow get your 1570 ticket before it goes out of theaters because they're sold out, and I don't know if either of you have seen this, where people are like scalping tickets for the Oppenheimer movie at like $1,500.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I also saw that they are adding like 3 a.m. showings so that they can meet demand.
Absolutely.
Oh, I would be down to watch Oppenheimer at 3 a.m.
Yeah. So ultimately, Oppenheimer and IMAX, absolutely just necessary. You need to see it that way, if possible.
Some theaters are also showing it in 70mm film as well.
If you can't do IMAX, see it in 70mm. Although, here's the thing about 70mm though. It's that the whole movie is going to be in a 2:2 to 1 aspect ratio.
Yeah.
It's never going to have the IMAX sequences.
Yeah.
So, I would do IMAX instead. But if you want to have that film experience, see it in 70mm, sure. But, or see it both ways.
I definitely recommend watching it twice. I feel like it's kind of a recurring thing with most Nolan films. And a lot of Nolan films, either they're really confusing, you got to watch it again, or a lot happens while watching the film, so you got to watch it again to re-comprehend it. And that's what's beautiful about Nolan is you get more meaning after rewatching his films.
So, well, let's talk about who was in it. A lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Literally every famous white person you could think of.
And Rami Malek.
And Rami Malek. Oh, yeah.
He's Egyptian, bro.
Yeah, he's Egyptian. Just like me.
People just show up in this movie and then are gone. Like, like top tier actors. One scene, gone. It's crazy.
It was just a meme. I remember a year ago discussing films, they would announce, this person signed for Oppenheimer. This person. It was like, what?
Who's next?
Yeah. It was like Super Smash Brothers, basically. Who's next? Like, but for like actors.
And it was crazy to think that Devin Bostick, the dude that played Roderick, was in the movie for like 2 scenes. And I just found out today that the lead from Sky High is in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what? What's he been doing?
Jack Quaid plays the bongos.
Jack Quaid, yeah.
Jack Quaid plays the bongos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so is a very... this is the definition of star-studded cast.
Oh, no, for real.
Like, truly. It was amazing performances all around. Cillian Murphy,
oh my God,
absolutely in the running for Best Actor. There's no
Cillian Murphy, I think he's definitely securing Best Actor. I mean, the thing with Cillian Murphy is he doesn't have the stereotypical screaming, shouting, Oscar-winning scene. But the thing that's powerful about Cillian Murphy, he tells you everything that needs to be told in his eyes, his voice, his facial mannerisms. The thing is, he tells you what's powerful about this movie is because it's basically a human given the power of a god. And what's crazy about this is okay, what I'm trying to say is it's crazy to see how a human reacts to the power of a god, because as humans we can't comprehend the idea of God. So giving us the power of God, it's like, what is going on? And Cillian Murphy, the minute he makes the atomic bomb, you could just see, he doesn't even say a word. His eyes speak volumes to what he realizes the mistake he made with the bomb. And it's insane.
Especially the Bleachers scene.
Oh, yeah.
Insane.
Oh, my God.
Like, and seeing that for the first time when everybody's, like, stamping their feet, like, okay, so part of the IMAX experience is that the sound, and we're going to talk about sound a bit, because everybody's got a beef to pick with Christopher Nolan's sound, and we're going to talk about that. But in that portion where everybody's stamping their feet in the bleachers, like in the IMAX theater, with the way the speakers are set up, it's like people, they were like right next to you doing that. Like you felt it and you heard it. Like you felt it in your chest. And that was such a like literally impactful sequence. Oh, yeah. And I was just... it was amazing.
It was the like direction too, because during that scene, because there's a lot of non-linear storytelling in this film, so we,
as always,
Christopher
Nolan.
We hear the bleacher scene.
Oh yeah, where like the sound.
So we're like, okay, why is it playing? Then we get to the actual scene, it's like, and then what's amazing is just how we get like that ear-ringing noise, but all we focus on is the stomping, not even the yelling. It's like...
One thing that absolutely struck me, like, while watching, and with most Christopher Nolans, it always strikes you as the score. Because this is his second go-around with Ludwig Goransson. His first was Tenet.
He's amazing.
First off, Tenet soundtrack, absolute banger. 747 on repeat, absolutely always. And then for this movie, it's going to be Trinity on repeat, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Like, the score for this movie is so impactful. And that's the thing. Like with Barbie, I said it had a forgettable score.
What was the other track? It was Can You Hear the
Can You Hear the Music?
Can You Hear the Music? That
Absolutely.
That one.
But with Barbie's score, like I don't even like recognize I don't remember a single musical cue from that movie except for like the needle drops. But for this, these tracks, they stick with you.
Yeah.
Like, especially Can You Hear the Music, Trinity, and then the ending track, like at the end.
Dude.
That it sticks with you. And that's one thing that I feel like a lot of people kind of like disregard when it comes to films, talking about the score, except for the Oscars. That's like the only time people ever really talk about film score.
Like people only really talk about score whenever it's Ludwig Goransson or Hans Zimmer in question.
Or Michael Giacchino.
Oh yeah, Michael Giacchino.
For the Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the score of this movie, absolutely amazing, which also goes to the sound design and sound mix.
Oh my gosh.
First off, sound design, absolutely amazing. Yeah. But here's the thing. A lot of people talk about Christopher Nolan's sound for films, but here's the thing. I really believe that when it comes to sound in Christopher Nolan movies, you are really at the mercy of your theater. We saw this in the 50s and 70s IMAX theater, which was like basically the best way you can see this movie and best way you can hear the movie. And for me, in our viewing experience, the sound was like flawless. Like there was no like trouble understanding dialogue. There was no crazy mixing. Now, granted, Christopher Nolan does have a very like insane mix for his movies and the way he like mixes audio, but it's not exactly, it's not unreasonable.
Yeah.
And I don't even, people even talk about Tenet. Now, granted, everybody said Tenet had a crazy mix, but I don't think so. But also, here's the thing, I think a lot of people don't consider this, is that when you make a movie for IMAX, especially if you're shooting with the actual IMAX film camera, it makes a crap ton of noise. Like, you cannot film dialogue with the IMAX film camera unless you go back in and redub the lines, which is why it's impressive that in this 3-hour movie of guys talking in rooms, when they were shooting dialogue scenes with the IMAX camera, they had to go in and redub all of that. All those conversations in the IMAX scenes, they had to redub. So that really is why that people will feel like the sound mix for Christopher Nolan movies is janked. It's because like you have to go through and do that kind of like remixing. But to me, I found it it was a pleasant sound experience.
Oh,
it was awesome. The sound experience, honestly.
Even the standard, like.
Yeah, even the standard. Cinematography. This is now Christopher Nolan's 4th outing with Hoyt van Hoytema, and the two of them together is a match made in heaven. Look.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
See, when Christopher Nolan worked with Wally Pfister a lot, it's like he finds a cinematographer and he sits with them. Like, they're going to work together a lot of times.
Yeah.
Him and Wally Pfister were a great pairing for a long time, but honestly, he's elevated. Christopher Nolan is elevated with Hoyt van Hoytema. And that's the purpose of your cinematographer.
Yeah.
Like, just, especially Hoyt's use of the IMAX camera, because he was like the first person to like take it handheld.
Yeah.
And you felt that in Dunkirk and especially in Tenet for like the fight sequences and stuff like that. It was really just awesome. And yet another movie of just amazing cinematography, especially all like the theoretical like images and this, like, that stuff when it would happen.
When they were just talking about quantum physics, we got to just see like the whole realm and everything.
Like what's going on in Oppenheimer's mind as he's thinking about these things.
And what I thought was like really, there's this one scene where he's just out in the open and like he's talking about quantum theory, and it's crazy because like whenever we think about scientists trying to create the power of a god, they kind of become more like demented and more like cynical. So the lighting just cast this crazy half dark, half shadow, just encompassing him every time he was talking about quantum physics.
Oh. I don't know if I like noticed that was like what was going on with it. Maybe I'll see it again on like a second watch. But every time we thought about, like, he had those moments where he's thinking about that, especially just the editing of this movie. It's funny to say that, like, people say that you shouldn't notice the editing, but I believe that you should notice the editing. And
especially for a film that jumps back in time and also jumps between black and white and regular color as well. Yeah,
and Jennifer Lame, this is now the 2nd time she's worked with Christopher Nolan, and they are a good pairing as well.
Tenet was first time?
First time.
Gotcha.
And, like, the editing here was stellar, like, truly. Like, in that it all just works together. And so it's very coherent and amazing film. And, you know, it's funny. For a 3-hour movie, you feel the runtime. You feel it. But it never drags. Because I was hooked the whole time.
It's because they have a clear indication of what they're building to. They're building to the atomic bomb drop. And we always, like, that's obviously the meat and potatoes, but we get these little scenes that always just add up. Just the creation of gathering the Manhattan Project, just finding out, just flip-flopping between the case, and then Oppenheimer's time in college trying to just discover quantum theory.
Yeah. Now, earlier we mentioned that Ken was looking real good for that Best Supporting Actor, but in this movie, stiff competition from Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr.
He had a few scenes to do what he had to do, and boy, oh boy, did he take it.
Oh yeah, no, Downey said in an interview that Oppenheimer was the best movie he was in, which people were like, okay, did he forget that he was in Zodiac? But after seeing this, I'm like, oh, no, he was right. He was right. And this is probably one of his better performances definitely in recent memory, obviously. But.
I mean, yeah, as far as performances in recent memory, you got Iron Man, Doolittle. And this.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. And
that
was like 14 years ago.
That's recent.
But he did a fantastic job in this film. Like, truly. Robert Downey Jr., I mean, he's a solid bet. He's the favorite. Like, you bet on him, and it's a good bet.
I think there's definitely a narrative, because it's not a comeback role, but it's just him being in the spotlight again, especially working with a legendary director like Christopher Nolan. So there's definitely buzz there. And I want to give another shout out to Emily Blunt. I think Emily Blunt did really well in this film.
She had some good scenes. She absolutely had like one of the more talked about scenes.
Oh yeah.
And like, it's a great scene, although, and people are giving that like best like supporting actress nods, like, but
I think she definitely has earned some best supporting actress nods for this film.
see it, but I don't. But then again, people have come in and gotten best supporting actor or actress for less.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But she definitely did a great job. She did a fantastic, honestly.
And given her runtime, I think is definitely warranted too, because sometimes people have like a lot of screen time, just do nothing with it. She had a fair amount of screen time, but killed almost every scene she was in as well.
Yeah, everyone was on point. And I feel like
Rami Malek was in the movie for like 2 minutes, and
he had 2 minutes.
But that 2 minutes is like, oh my god, he's terrifying.
Yeah, and there's a cameo from a certain actor. Boy, oh boy, was that scene. Actually, 2 cameos from 2 actors. Both scenes, crazy, just whoa.
I will say one thing. This is like, it's not really a negative, but this is kind of just something in my head with Oppenheimer. Josh Peck. So.
What do you see Josh?
No. So the thing is, it was just, it was really awkward. He stuck out like a sore thumb for some reason. It just kind of gave me like, it was hard to take his role serious because you know, like.
Really? Here's the thing. I'm
able to like to disassociate people who are like in role like when I say Andrew Garfield, I don't think, oh my god, Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield, but like Josh Peck, it was just funny to me. But like he did what he needed to do. He didn't do anything wrong. It was just really weird to me. I didn't really notice the Roderick actor though.
This one is interesting because he's like Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, Saw 6, and then this. Yeah. I'm sure some other stuff in between, but I think everyone did what they were supposed to.
Yeah.
And you ever pay attention to what actors say about working with Christopher Nolan? It's like you get on set with him and you get on point. Everybody, when you're shooting on film, you got to bring your A game because you're literally burning money.
Yeah, and you're working with Nolan. Like it's like being able to work with Nolan it's a blessing in a sense. Like there are certain actors who will turn down these big budget movies just to work with certain directors. I feel like Nolan is one of them. I forgot who it was, but Leonardo DiCaprio literally turned down a big big money role to work with a certain actor. I think it was for The Aviator. I gotta re-look this, but he basically took a pay cut because he wanted to work with an actor. He wanted to work with an actor to possibly get this Oscar win.
Mm-hmm. And kind of like this isn't necessarily, it is about the movie, but it's not about the movie. And I find it interesting, the discourse surrounding this movie about like what is and isn't represented in the movie. And it's like, if you didn't know, this movie is based on a biography, An American Prometheus by this person here.
Oh yeah, we should have given a spoiler warning to real life and history.
Right. So it's based on a book.
Yeah.
So the book is from Oppenheimer's perspective.
Fun fact. Robert Pattinson gave him that book on the set of Tenet.
Yes. So this book is from Oppenheimer's perspective. So Oppenheimer, like people are talking about these people that aren't being represented, but if all of this is from Oppenheimer's perspective, it's clear and it's evident that he was not thinking about these people. And to inject those representations would be disingenuous to both the story and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Like, we're not defending him
for
what he did. And the movie doesn't go out of its way to defend him. It just paints him as a human being who went through this experience and realized, I've done something terrible.
That was what was interesting about this movie was because obviously Oppenheimer, central character, it didn't try to rationalize what he was doing. It obviously made him like a main focal point. It kind of sympathized what he was thinking because humans are complex. Oppenheimer, a very complex character, he created a weapon that cost the lives of 200,000 people. So how can you really sympathize with a character like that? And he's also a person who's also sacrificed his family life for something like this. it tries to sympathize him but not make him a savior. It's aware that he's a bad person, but it tries to add complexity to it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like, the movie makes it clear, yeah, he did something terrible, but at the same time, it's like, he understands, and I guess history shows, he understood what he did, and he tried to work to not fix it, but at the very least, make up for it in a sense. Mm-hmm. So that's something. But just about those perspectives, like, that were not shown, I'm just like, why are we asking to see this? Because the main perspective is just that. Like, why did we not see the Japanese perspective? Do you want to see that? Like,
no.
Is this that movie?
Oh my gosh.
And so many filmmakers from Japan have made movies that you could watch.
Yeah.
And then, like, so yeah, that's not what this movie's about. There's a lot of other stuff about that. But ultimately, I think it's good to say that Oppenheimer and Barbie together, Barbenheimer, an absolute triumph of the cinematic experience, really. Because we're back. The cinema's back.
Yeah, we're back.
We are back. We are so fucking back. But that's the thing. We're in a time where movies can just go head to head, and it's not big like, these are blockbusters, but they're not blockbusters.
It's crazy because when you see like two blockbusters going head to head, you're thinking, okay, one's going to tank, but this was a rare case where it was like
both are blowing up.
Both are blowing up, but it was
blowing up.
It was a mutual thing. Like, Margot, Robbie, Greta, Gerwig were supporting Oppenheimer. Cillian Murphy said, see both. I don't care if you see Barbie first. It's ironic because Warner Brothers tried to be petty because Christopher Nolan had issues with Warner Brothers, so they decided to try to mess over his movie by releasing their movie on the same day. But they created one of the biggest memes of 2023.
Cinematic events in, I think, history, maybe.
Yeah, apparently, Mamma Mia, Dark Knight was like a similar.
The Dark Mama.
Yeah, the Dark Mama, but.
But we jumped ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
If we're gonna assign a numeric value to Oppenheimer, what say you?
Oh my God. Oh. This might be the honeymoon phase. Maybe I'll change my mind in like 5 months or whenever Oscar season is like ramping, but 10 out of 10. Genuinely, like, I walked into Oppenheimer thinking, okay, it's Christopher Nolan, he never misses. It's probably gonna be like, a solid 8, maybe a 9, maybe a 7, who knows? I walk out of it, mind blown. Interstellar holds a very near and dear place in my heart. It was the first movie I've seen in IMAX. Matthew McConaughey just steals the show in that movie. It's a movie just...
It's a show, it's his movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, like, it's a tearjerker. It's a powerful experience about just, like, finding out what's beyond the world while also losing track of time and losing the humanity within yourself and losing that precious time you can never get back. It's such an amazing story, but somehow Oppenheimer beat it for me. So, yeah, I'd have to give it a 10. 10 out of 10.
Well, it would 10 out of 10 for me too. Oppenheimer was truly, like, again, this is a film that's not for everyone. Yeah. Truly, it isn't. This is a 3-hour movie of dudes sitting in rooms talking for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But for me, this is a 10 out of 10 experience. It's a triumph of filmmaking. It clearly, it further elevates Christopher Nolan to the GOAT conversation. I mean, there was no doubt about that. But it was amazing. I personally, while I was kind of writing my paper of things to say, I just could not really find anything that I was like, man, I don't have any beefs with the movie. There was nothing about it where I was like, this is not
I literally
great.
I can't think of anything I did not like. Like, some people may say the runtime, but it takes a certain individual to watch a 3-hour movie. Some people can do it, some people can't. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed the long runtime. I think it used every minute it needed to. I didn't think it could have been cut anywhere. I didn't think it needed any more time.
Absolutely not. But that's our thoughts on both Barbie and Oppenheimer. Wow, this is actually the first time I've done like a long-form movie discussion since Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon
Right.
City. That was an experience. Thank you guys for watching and sticking through this long-form discussion about movies. And oh man, you'll see Samir again in a video when he talks about his next film thing.
Yeah.
That's something. He's gonna talk about something.
Review thing, drifter thing, what thing?
Whatever your next movie thing is.
Oh yeah.
And then I'll see you, you'll see me next week, not next week, week after next, talking about why I'm ditching the 16 to 80. It already happened. We're on its successor. Bye!